I'm going to be fully honest here. If Gordon Ramsay was overseeing me as I was making these predictions, he would have unleashed an all-time epic Hell's Kitchen-esque rant because I burnt what I was cooking. Welcome to the Dugout. I'm your host, Joseph Silva. And on today's episode, we're going to take a look back at my preseason predictions, my preseason top 50 player rankings. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I get really, really wrong? I will let you know. But as always, if you're enjoying the content, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the Run the Play Network. My Dodgers, back-to-back World Series champions. Anthony's Thunder, NBA champions. Phil's Lakers got Luka Doncic. Subscribing to the Run the Play Network brings success to your team. Or you can always not, but I wouldn't take that chance. Now, let's start off with the playoff predictions, because those are they're the worst, so let's get the worst out of the way here. We'll start with the American League, where I got 4 of the 6 teams I predicted to make the playoffs wrong. I only got I only got Detroit and Boston. That was it. So, quite reasonably, my biggest 2 misses were the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays, I think, and this is going to be a theme throughout this video here, is I did not value good lineup construction at the time, and it really came back to bite my ass. Because yes, this Blue Jays lineup, really, really good on paper. Both the Zips productions from Fangraphs and just the name talent alone should have told me like they're going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 offense, which they ended up being on the year. The problem is I didn't trust the pitching staff. I didn't think Scherzer was going to be that good. I wasn't a fan of, Kevin Gossman because he was struggling a little bit. Chris Bassett, Bowden Francis, all of them I was really hesitant to buy in on. So that's really why I had Toronto finishing 4th in the division. I wasn't that big of a fan of them. The Yankees, no excuse there, is they had talent up and down that roster. I believed in everybody. I thought Max Fried was going to be a dog, and he absolutely was a dog. It's just, I liked every team in front of them better, which brings me to the worst take I had, which is I had the Athletics making the playoffs. And at the time, the logic was sound. It's just it didn't pay off in the way I thought it would be. I thought they'd be a good offense. They were a good offense. They were 10th in WRC+. They were 12th in runs scored. They were absolutely who I thought they would be offensively. Lawrence Butler continued to produce. Jacob Wilson, we'll talk about him more later, but he produced in a big way. Soderstrom, gotta be careful when I say this name, but Nick Kurtz was a very good player, cemented himself as maybe the best first baseman in baseball, the way he played this season. All of it was tremendous. And I thought, the acquisitions of Luis Severino and Jeffrey Springs really provided enough of a stable foundation at pitching to really just kind of, do enough to let the offense do its thing. And yeah, they were not good. Jeffrey Springs, let's be honest, was terrible for the Athletics this year. Luis Severino, we know about the famous home-road splits. We're at home, and yes, he was playing at a Little League park. For God's sakes, I could hit a home run out of Sutter House Park. But regardless, he played horribly there, but was borderline unhittable outside of Sacramento. So if we got that Luis Severino the whole year, I think this might have been a little bit of a different story. But yeah, that Athletics take. Ooh, that aged poorly. National League, I did a little bit better. I got half the teams correct here, but needless to say, the Padres and Brewers were 2 massive oversights on my part here. And just the Brewers is, I didn't believe in the offense. I didn't believe in the rotation depth. I already knew the bullpen was going to be solid. I thought McGill, if he developed a curveball, which he ended up doing, was going to be a very solid reliever. And sure enough, he developed a curveball, was a very solid reliever. The bullpen was fantastic. Shout out to Abner Uribe, who's always been one of those under-the-radar guys. But, Freddie Peralta took a huge step forward. Is going to finish top 5 in Cy Young voting. Should have believed in him more. Chad Patrick was fantastic. Quinn Priester, when he came over, was absolutely great. Mizorowski was hit or miss, but he still provided good innings for them when he was on. And then just looking at the offense again, I didn't believe in them. I'm more of a power guy. But, a lot of the small ball tendencies that they played ended up working beautifully to perfection here during the regular season. Got their asses kicked by, But regardless, this Brewers team, they continue to find edges here. And I just can't keep doubting them. They are fantastic, whether it's Caleb Durbin or Isaac Collins. They always find guys and just get the most out of them. Big miss on my part. And maybe this next one is me being a hater. But truly, I did not see the Padres coming anywhere close to this. Aside from the big four of, Tatis, Machado, Merrill, and Bogarts, I didn't see the offense really producing, and I was right about that. Even Merrill took a step back this year, which isn't necessarily great, but they didn't get that much production. That's why they had to go get a Ramon Laureano. That's why they had to go get a Ryan O'Hearn at the deadline. They had to get a Freddie Fermin, which if you have to get Freddie Fermin to fix your catching situation, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong here. Yeah, so the offense was not great by any means. And then I thought, the pitching could maybe do something, but I don't really trust it that much. I thought far and away Michael King was going to be the ace of the staff. He was just plagued with health issues all this year. Didn't really work out for them. But they unlocked a whole different Nick Pivetta. Dylan Cease has struggled in the worst possible way. Like, everything about this Padres team, rotation-wise, was iffy, but the bullpen, even before, the Mason Miller acquisition, was incredible. Morejon, Suarez, Jason Adam, they're all just great pitchers, and because I'm a hater, I didn't see it coming in. I should have predicted a wild card loss. That's who the Padres are deep down. And of course, I got to give myself credit here. I did not think the Mets were going to make the playoffs, and they did not make the playoffs. I did not trust Clay Holmes as a starter. He was good, but he broke down at the end of the year. Same thing with Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga. If you're rolling with Nolan McLean and Jonah Trong as your starters that you hope to carry you into the playoffs, that is absolutely not the strategy. They were a very good base running team. Shout out Antoine Walker. The offense was good, not great, mainly because Francisco Lindor was dealing with that foot injury. We don't know how bad it was. They just were not getting production from the outfielders not named Juan Soto. Nimmer was okay. Center field, even after the Marlins acquisition, was just bad. Tyrone Tracy was not it. It's just rough to see. Pete Alonso, fantastic, but I knew the pitching was going to sink them. I didn't think the bullpen was going to be that bad, but I didn't think it was going to be great either, so I got to give myself credit from that one. And if you look at the playoff predictions, given that I only had 5 of the 12 teams in the playoffs, I think I did the best I could. I think it's very obvious to pick the Dodgers to win every year, but I'll pat myself on the back. I had them winning the World Series in 7 games, which they ended up doing eventually. I just had them doing it to the wrong team whose location starts with T. I had them beating the Texas Rangers instead of the Toronto Blue Jays. But still, I think I did pretty well with that. Not necessarily the best division winners and all that, but Dodgers winning the World Series, I'll take that every time. Now, let's get to the award predictions here, because I cooked, but I didn't cook at the same time, if that makes sense. And we're going to start with the AL Rookie of the Year here. This is one of those I cooked. I had Jacob Wilson as my AL Rookie of the Year. He ended up finishing second, but for the longest time, he kind of looked like the favorite, and then Nick Kurtz came onto the scene, which, spoiler alert, I did not have him in my top 3. That is a massive oversight on my part, but yeah, he was the best rookie in the American League, hands down. It was quite easy. Wilson was number 2, and I had Roman Anthony as number 3. He ended up finishing as number 3. He is such an incredible talent that, even though the Red Sox were very clearly manipulating his service time, you could not bet against that talent, even in a very short sample size. And yeah, he just broke out in a massive, massive way. You really saw how the loss of Roman Anthony affected him in that wild card series with the Yankees, where I don't know if they win it, but it's a lot more competitive if he's there against the Yankees. He's got a bright future. Overall, I cooked. NL Rookie of the Year. I don't want to talk about that one because that was bad. Really bad, I'm not going to lie here. His third place, I had Bubba Chandler. I didn't realize the Pirates were going to keep Bubba Chandler in their system till August. And even when he came up, he didn't look, world-beatingly good. But, that one was not great. I had Matt Shaw as number 2. He was my original winner when I started working on the list back in February. I will tell you why I bumped him down in a second here. But needless to say, a tied for ninth place finish with, and I love this man, Jack Dreyer, is not necessarily a great season for a Rookie of the Year. And my winner was Roki Sasaki. And look, in spring training, he looked incredible. He was absolutely otherworldly, and I did not want to be the guy, which, spoiler alert for the rest of my predictions, I did not want to be the guy that had the Dodgers winning the World Series. I did not want to be the guy that had him with the NL MVP, the NL Cy Young, and the NL Rookie of the Year. I try not to be biased here, despite the fact that, but still, what I saw from Sasaki in spring training, you couldn't deny. The fastball was electric. The splitter was incredible. The sweeper looked fine, but, really that two-pitch mix was going to play. Unfortunately, Sasaki just did not have it for a majority of the year. He looked lost. The command was down. The fastball velocity was bad. Everything just was a mess. And finally, when he went down with that shoulder injury, it just looked like a lost season. But to his credit, he finally trusted the Dodgers coaching and our very great pitching development here. And when they made the change to shift Sasaki's weight more on his back leg and use him as a closer, that's when things were unlocked. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say the Dodgers do not win the World Series without Roki Sasaki, because he was absolutely dominant in the closer role. Yeah, he gave us a few heart attacks here, but no one else was going to take that job. Blake Trinan was not it. Tanner Scott was so ass he had to get a surgery on his ass to fix it. Kirby Yates was not it. Bonda was not it. Jack Dreyer was not it. Kasparius was not it. You can go down the list. Nobody was going to close games for this Dodgers team. It had to be Roki Sasaki. And yeah, he did it in a big way. I will say, is probably is the top 5 contributor to this World Series team in the playoffs. It's just the regular season. He was not good. And unfortunately, NL Rookie of the Year is a regular season award. Yeah, it was that bad. But if we get to the Cy Youngs, yeah, this is where I cooked. I cooked hard on this one. Is the AL Cy Young, I had the top 2, just in the wrong order. I thought Crochet was going to beat Skubal. It was really close for a while there, and then Crochet had that blow-up start to start September, and that just kind of, put all the narratives to rest. But still, you cannot be mad with a pitcher with getting 1-2 just in the wrong order. After that, Logan Gilbert, injury plagued and was kind of fine. Cole Reagan, same thing, just injuries. And then I had Joe Ryan finishing 3rd, which to my credit, he was not a top 3 pitcher. I would be surprised if he finishes in the top 10. He's probably top 5 for AL Cy Young. But he finally took that step forward that I was projecting him to for the longest time. So I'll give myself a half point on that one. I did really well. The NL Cy Young, though, I didn't want to be constantly I think Paul Skeens is going to win it, but I'm going to put him at 2 to kind of hedge my bets here. Putting Yamamoto at 1, it kind of seemed like a risk. It paid off in a big, big way. I was really bullish on his secondary stuff. It was really good in 2024 in his rookie campaign, but the fastball just was not there. It has great characteristics, it has great life, velocity, all that stuff you want to say. It just had terrible run value. They were picking up on it. They were hitting it very well. So I got to look at it. If you just kind of either change the location or where you're throwing it in the count, it'll kind of work. And he dropped his four-seam fastball usage, got a lot more pops-ups and weak contact on it. And really, it became a really good pitch, especially complemented with that incredibly deadly arsenal of off-speed stuff. Yeah, Yamamoto, he is not the NL Cy Young, but I think putting him number 1 and saying he was my preseason favorite to win, I think I kind of cooked here. He finished top 3. I don't know if he's going to finish runner-up here. It's very close between him and Sanchez. But yeah, I'll give myself some credit for that one. Paul Skeens at number 2 I just thought Yamamoto was slightly better, but you can't go against Paul Skeens. He's Greg Maddux that throws 100 miles an hour. And I'm not going to spoil it here for next season, but he is my preseason award pick for the 2026 Cy Young. He is so, so good. Everything about his game is incredible. Paul Skeens should have been number 1, but I want to be a little biased. This is the one I'll take the most credit for here. Is Logan Webb. I didn't see him anywhere near Cy Young predictions. I had him finishing, if I remember correctly, 5th in this race. And it's really because I'm everything looks good. It's just his changeup lost a little bit of drop. If he just kind of readjusts the pitch grip, I think he'll kind of come back and bounce back. Sure enough, the movement profile and the spin rate, everything about that changeup went more in line with his 2023 season. And sure enough, it was just as effective as it was in 2023, where he finished runner-up in the Cy Young voting to Blake Snell. I think absolutely I cooked on that one. I think everyone was writing off Logan Webb as I don't want to say Oracle Park merchant, but, if someone's a Coors merchant, you gotta have to have Oracle merchants, and that's kind of what people were saying about him going into the season. So, yeah, I'll take my victory lap here on Logan Webb. And then the MVP, I had two of the top five here. I had Bobby Witt Jr. and Aaron Judge in the top five. Aaron Judge might win it. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to finish top five. I'll take the victory lap on that one. Let's just not talk about Mike Trout having a top five finish, because it pains me to see Mike Trout be this bad. And then same thing in the National League. A blind baby could tell you Shohei Ohtani is going to win the NL MVP here. It's quite obvious. And Kyle Tucker, so it's more like, who do you have finishing second? I had Kyle Tucker. I don't think he's going to finish top five. I'd be surprised if he finishes top 10, quite frankly, because that second half stump, and yes, I understand he had the hip injury. But, for the first half, he was really playing like, a top 3 MVP vote getter right there. Very interesting to see, but not my best work. Same thing with Bryce Harper. He had a down year to the point where, Dave Dombrowski's calling him out, so let's see how that motivates him. Austin Riley, we will talk about in a second, but I'm not proud of that one. And then Juan Soto at 5th, because, he's Juan Soto. You have to put him there. He's probably finishing runner-up to Ohtani. So I did well with the MVPs. And now we get to my top 50 player list. This is the wildest swings you will ever see. But to give myself credit, I did have the top 4 in the correct order. Ohtani, Judge, Witt, and Soto. Those are very clearly the 4 best players in the league. You can get cute with it sometimes, but to stick with it, I'm very proud of that one. Having Acuna in the top 10, I saw very few people rating Acuna that high. It paid off in a big way, though. I am at 6. I think that's kind of where I would put him at the high end, but he is very clearly still a top 10 player. He tore his ACL twice, and the sprint speed has not diminished there. The power is incredible. It's still there. He's chasing or he's swinging and missing a lot more than he was in his MVP campaign. Even in 2024, he was doing that more. But I don't care. He's so electric, both on the base paths, in the field, and with his power. I think I would take it. In 442 appearances this year, he had a 935 OPS. That is very clearly a top 10 player. I'm going to take that one 100% of the time. And then, again, I was higher on Corbin Carroll than most. He turned in another fantastic season here. As if I had him at 21. He's right around a top 20 player, so yeah, hit on Corbin Carroll. Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the top 50. I didn't see a lot of people even having him in the top 60. I think MLB Network was higher on him than most lists I saw, and they had him at 61. So to put Yamamoto at 40, I think I put him at 48, 49. Absolutely 100% the right move there. I cooked. He's coming up higher for sure this year. Big hit putting Garrett Crochet in the top 35. He was always going to make the list, but to put him, above, Chris Sale going into the season, put him above Blake Snell, a lot of the pitchers who I saw above him, even putting him above Logan Gilbert, was a huge risk, but Crochet paid off in a big, big way. I'm proud of that one. And my last one is before his injury in July, Isaac Paredes was a top 50 player. You can argue with me all you want, but he was 36th in position player F4 with a 133 WRC plus. I get he's not good defensively, but a third baseman with a 133 WRC plus, you take that every time, especially because it's park adjusted. And the whole thing that I was so high on him is I thought he could have hit 50 home runs because of the Crawford boxes. He was on pace for 32. So not necessarily where I thought he was, but he still has tremendous plate discipline, the power that was there. He was a top 50 player. He just didn't finish the year as one because of the injuries. So let's talk about the misses. And there were some bad ones. Let's start with the 2 Cy Young winners, who I had Paul Skeens at number 20 on the list. Yeah, I'm not making that mistake again. And I had Tarek Skubal at 22. And I think for me is I way undervalue starting pitchers when I made this list, and I am not making that mistake again. They are both going to be in the top 10 next year's list, but I don't know where yet. Patrick Bailey at number 50, which you can make an argument that he is number 50 because he had one of the greatest defensive seasons of all time at the most premier defensive position on the diamond. You can make that argument. I'm not going to. Because if you were to take a look at that video and go back and watch the whole compiled list, is I didn't put Cal Raleigh on the top 50. So I have to now explain why I thought Patrick Bailey is better than Cal Raleigh. And it really starts for me is Bailey's defensive. He's a better defensive catcher than Cal Raleigh. And if you look at, his Baseball Savant page for the 24 season is, he was hitting the ball hard. He had, I don't want to say like a high expected batting average, but all the expected batting averages and all those stats were a lot higher than his actual stats. So I was projecting he was going to be like a 100 WRC plus catcher, which if he was, absolutely he's a top 50 player. It's just the bat did not catch up at all to what I thought it was going to be. And that's why I had him in the top 50. The problem is I had him over Raleigh. And my thing with Cal Raleigh is he was a little like 3 true outcome-y for me. Is there's too much strikeouts for me, too many walks, and I don't like hitters that are like pure 3 true outcome guys. Is I watched Joey Gallo on my Dodgers. Watching Joey Gallo is not fun if he's on your team. You're like, yes, he hits absolute nukes and he's great defensively, but I just could not justify it. So ultimately, I had to leave Cal Raleigh off, and he's going to win the MVP. I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. And then Jackson Merrill, as we said before, he took a step back. He was not top 25 this year. I had him there. That's a big miss on my part. So let's talk about Austin Riley for a second. I believe I put Austin Riley like 16, 17. I put him like basically right next to Freddie Freeman. And that was not even close. The strikeouts have become like just too much to deal with if you're the Braves. Riley is swinging and missing way too much. Like, I understand his chase rate is right about average. He's hitting the ball incredibly hard, and I get that. But I cannot take the strikeouts in the game anymore. I don't think the Braves can take it in the games anymore. I really thought that power profile and how he was really playing up until that season, I thought for sure 24 was the outlier. No, 2024 looks like the new norm. I am not going to be high on Austin Riley anymore. I might be wrong here, but I missed in a big, big way here. Altuve was borderline top 50. He's not going to make the list again next year, but he played like it. And of course, I have to mention the fact, as my last point here on my top 50, is Emmanuel Clase was 49, and now he's facing at least 49 years in prison for that gambling scandal. I'm not putting relievers on the list anymore. I learned my lesson here. He will, even like taking the gambling suspension and all that shit aside, which I don't want to do, but here we are. He just did not have it this year. He had an ERA in the 3s. He really showed him and Tanner Scott were like a poster child this year of reliever volatility being a thing. Because yeah, he was still good and effective for the Guardians bullpen, but he was not, someone who was fighting, or at least in my opinion, Tarek Skubal for the AL Cy Young here. Everything about this was just bad, and he has never seen a major league mound after this. So putting him on the list was a little bit of a mistake. But let me know in the comments down below. What was your worst prediction going into the season? What was your best? Did I cook or did I burn it? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the Run the Play Network, and don't forget on the way out, play ball.